Hi, everybody. This is day 916. 916 days since Richard vanished from the barracks there at Fort Bliss in El Paso, Texas. Just make some adjustments here to make sure I'm doing this right. Okay, 916 days. He didn't just go missing, and it's very, very important to, I think, absorb where Richard went missing. In the barracks, Fort Bliss, El Paso, Texas. In the barracks, Fort Bliss, El Paso, Texas. Then also, I think it's very, very important. Um, Today, I wanted to talk about the porn cult, that is going on. It's gotten, or I don't know if it's gotten out of hand. um, it is just prevalent, and when it gets out of hand, it will get very, very ugly. But when you have leadership that allows the barracks and even the installation, the military installation, when you allow the porn cult to move freely and be active and matter of fact, it's not that they don't have repercussions, it's that they are supported, that the leadership is looking the other way, even punishing those that are not tolerant of the porn cult. And I've always been, because of my faith, I've always been a little bit questioning things. What would Jesus do? I take seriously. What would God do? I take very seriously because of my faith. And of course, because I'm the mother of Richard Halliday, I let him know that. I absolutely raised him to take it seriously. What would Jesus do? What would, and of course, in our faith, we believe in the Trinity. So it is God the Father, God the Son, God the Holy Ghost. So when you say, what would Jesus do? You're saying, what would God the Father do? What would God the Son do? What would God the Holy Spirit do? And so there are limits. There are limits. Uh, and I try to also, I tried as a mother, and I still do, even with my grandchildren, to uh, teach our children to love those limits, because God doesn't have that many limits, you see? And He has negative laws. Negative laws are thou shalt not, um, are such a blessing because they're very particular. They're not broad. You know exactly what He does not want you to do. Whereas we have buildings upon buildings upon buildings upon buildings of man's laws and regulations, and they are confusing and they can be manipulated. And then it gets so confusing and so manipulated that you see what's going on today, a clear violation of our laws by Biden, that he had classified documents in five locations. Oh, well, five, yeah, whatever. He had loads of classified, highly classified documents in places they shouldn't be. Pence had documents, classified documents, in places they shouldn't be. The law allows former presidents and presidents to have classified documents because they can unclassify them. It's very clear. The law is very clear. And but because people want to manipulate them, because they get confusing, then everyone gets away with everything. Nobody is held accountable. And this is what's going on when you have 44 four-star generals and admirals that are not defending the Constitution. That could only happen without a defense. There is no defense right now in this country. And that's why all of these laws, all of these crimes are being manipulated and contorted and everything so that nobody is ever held accountable. Tucker Carlson just mentioned that Epstein's death has not been investigated. This is a very high profile person that was in prison for very high crimes and misdemeanors. Huge. And his death was not investigated, has not been investigated yet. And the reason is because our country has been left defenseless. There is no one there to defend the Constitution. The laws set in that document to protect the land and the people, and that's why we have runaway crime. And of course, if we have no defense, what's going on our installations? Why can I say this? Because on our installations, we had a soldier die in his room and left there until the 5th stage of decomposition. He was goo, y'all. He was goo. That's how bad he was smelling. And yet there was no big media push to who did not do their job, who did not check on this soldier. This soldier was going to his formation with night vision goggles on. Okay, I'm talking about Caleb Smither. And y'all, no accountability. Okay? No, you understand, media is so important in all of this because it will restrain further evil. Right? You make an example out of certain cases, so you restrain evil. Then you have Vanessa Guillen, who was bludgeoned to death in the armory. Now, y'all, she was not just hit over the head with a hammer and killed. She was hit repeatedly in the head, in the face with a hammer in the armory, right there on Fort Hood. Repeatedly. This is very brutal. I mean, it's brutal to hit a person one time over the head with a hammer. Can you imagine? It was so bad that they couldn't even use her dental records to identify her. Okay? It didn't stop there. Matter of fact, that's a good reminder to turn on my Facebook. Let me turn this all the way down. Thank you. I meant to do that so I can see any of the Yep, I'm live there. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Now I can see everybody that came on. I'll set that up. Okay. So that it didn't stop there with Vanessa Guillen. She was, even after death, brutalized, cut up, burnt, buried in a foxhole under concrete, lime and concrete. It was very sophisticated. We have Enrique Roman Martinez. His head came ashore from Fort Bragg. He was on the island there trying to get some kind of relief from the insanity that was going on in 2020. And and his head rolled ashore. It had been hatcheted off of his head. His hair had been pulled out. His eyes gouged out. These are our service members. And then we have, of course, Austin Hawke in his barracks room, whistleblower, just like Vanessa. I believe Enrique also. And he was a whistleblower, and it's a terrible thing. The military made a plea deal with his murderers, and instead of restraining evil, they want to hide all the evil so that nobody knows it's happening. Nobody's throwing fits. No one holds calling to hold anyone accountable. And that's exactly what would be happening if they would be transparent and get this out in the open. But Austin Hawke had 39 wounds just to his head. His neck was slit. When they went to pick him up, his head fell off. They had to hold his head on. This is in the barracks room. Nobody called for help. Nobody called anyone for help. Can you believe that? And nobody called 911. Nobody called the military police. Not one of those battle buddies that lived in his barracks went to rescue him, went to help him. He was fighting for his life against this murderer. Nobody, I mean, the doors taken off their hinges, everything, furniture being thrown. Y'all, it was loud. It was brutal. I can't imagine his screams. The murderer also was injured in this. There were bloody footsteps in the hallway. The CID says, oh, we missed those. And then the Army makes a plea deal when not one soldier, because they're so afraid of retaliation, they're so afraid that they're going to be hurt, that they did not come to his aid, even after the perpetrator left, even after that time. And Austin Hawke lay there bleeding out. Nobody came in there. Nobody. Nobody called 911. Nobody called military police. Nobody came to help him. He died alone. He died bleeding out. And it wasn't until his friend found him the next morning, because he had loaned out his car to a friend and his friend was bringing back the keys, that they opened up that door, that bloody mess. This is what is happening, and it's in direct relationship to the porn cult. And people are going to go, what are you talking about? I'm saying, when you are allowing this pornography, which results in rapes and sexual harassment and grooming of children and unspeakable sexual encounters that mess with people mentally, then you're in the barracks and you have a marketplace for illegal drugs, and then you take drugs to numb your feelings, numb your dreams, numb your memory. And there's alcohol there, and then you have frat parties, and then you have more encounters with the sex cult, and the barracks flush with weapons, and awful things happen. Awful things. And girls are being brought in during the COVID because nobody wants to quit this sex cult. And then you have colonels that, for their retirement bye-bye message, post their sex cult, where when you go look into it, this is all public display. And matter of fact, I wanted to find that and play that for you, this interview. I should have done that. Maybe I'll um, look for it real quick and then come back on. But it's very, very important for people to understand that to support porn is supporting child sex trafficking. And when you get into that level of depravity, uh, your conscience, some people's conscience, they're not sick, evil human beings. They're in it and they will want to take drugs to numb, go to parties, alcohol, whatever, to try to forget what is going on around them. And we know this with Asia Graham. She was raped. She tried to numb the memories, the memory really of being told to shut up, shut up. We don't know how many people during that time that she was raped, that the raper was walking around in uniform, how many more victims he raped and that have not come forward, not have said anything. And we have been told, we don't know because we need to find Richard, but we've been told that Richard was raped. And so this whole sex cult, now if this is true about Richard, we have no evidence whatsoever, and he was in the hospital. He was constantly being retaliated against. So we don't have any positive drug tests, nothing like this. We have really no witness. I was wanting the young mother to describe more if Richard had taken drugs, but she went the other direction in the interview with the private investigator that we have. And in that video, even though she might say Richard was on crack or something like this, then she goes, no, he was an up guy. What does that mean? Does that mean he likes uppers or whatever? No, that's not the context. She goes on to say he really just liked to drink alcohol. And we have no positive tests at all. Everything's very confusing on that. And, we also have our knowledge of Richard and what he knows and who he is. And, think about his past, distinguished honor graduate, aspiring, burning fake money, Hollywood money, to let people know not to spend their money on whores and blow, giving that message. So we don't have, as even though there's been almost 80 subpoenas and warrants, there is no evidence of any exchange of money, any provider of drugs, any witness, anything like that, because she denies seeing him even taking it. So there is nobody that. Now, another thing too that I've tried to tell people is if Richard wanted to spoof people living in Ireland, when you say you want to do something for fun, the way they say it is, yeah, let's go for the crack. Let's go for the crack. That's how the Irish say, let's go for fun. Let's go for the crack. So Americans would take that as a different meaning. And so, we're looking for proof, and there's no proof. Unfortunately, with Asia, we know she was raped. We know that she died of a fentanyl-laced medication. We know that the barracks was flush with any kind of drug and also with weapons. We know they were having parties, frat parties every day. We know that. We know the circumstance, how she died. And the only way any of that could happen is that 44 four-star generals were grooming our soldiers towards that. Were accomplices towards that. Were silent and in consent of what was going on. And so this is really, really important to understand that this is what's going on at Fort Bliss in 2020 when and look, Fort Stewart and Fort Bragg. This is what was going on at Fort Bragg. So many deaths, so many very vicious crimes. You have to look into it. This is what was going on at that time. And it couldn't be that systemic. It couldn't be that vicious unless you had green flags from the 44 four-star generals. They're absolutely criminal. They've absolutely done everything they possibly could to destroy our military, to harm our volunteer sons and daughters. They've done everything in their power to weaken our military, to disregard our Constitution. They've done everything in their power. And this is absolutely high crimes and misdemeanors. And I'm not even talking about what happened with the COVID Cobra strikes that are called countermeasures. The military calls them countermeasures, which is, wow, it gives me shivers because they were planning it as early as 2013, y'all. What happened in 2020, 2021, 2022. So it's all coming out. And remember, we have all the information about Richard, and we cannot get a response from so many. Why? Well, we can't get a response from Congress because they're left defenseless. And if they want any kind of money, any kind of support for their reelection, they better lockstep to the foreign and domestic enemies of this country that are very, very wealthy. I'm sure there's some that are not enemies, but there's a lot that are. And they got a hold of a lot of our representatives, a lot of them, and a lot of our senators. And we have huge, huge lies in the healthcare, in the space industry, in the school system, in the education area. And we have huge lies, y'all, in our banking sector, in our monetization, in our in our investments, in our companies, the monopolization of companies in a very devious way. So we have so many lies in so many areas. And, one of the biggest, people say, oh, the space thing is the biggest. But I really believe the huge, huge lie is that we have the best military that is defending the Constitution. I don't think that's true. I think the 44 four-star generals are enemies. They are demons, and they're wearing our beautiful uniforms with 4 stars on them. And they have hijacked our entire military power, including our volunteer sons and daughters, to work for foreign and domestic enemies that want to do us harm. It's very clear. And one of the things that they do is extort and money launder. And you see what's going on. I just saw that the money that we've been sending down to Ukraine is being used for fast cars, expensive cars, beautiful hotels, all kinds of porn cult stuff. Um, and wow, wow. Uh, and now we have a German official foreign minister, and I want to play that for you right now, that has essentially for NATO declared war with Russia. And who is going to be the general? Who's going to be the leader, the generals of this war with Russia on our side, right? Who does she expect to fight? Is she going to go fight? Is her son going to go fight? Maybe she's married. Is her husband going to go fight? Is her daddy going to go fight? Is her neighbor going to go fight? Who is going to do this bloody war with Russia, and why? And why? She doesn't even explain why. And I just think before our 44 four-star criminals just start volunteering, our volunteer sons and daughters, and our abilities, our tanks, our submarines, our missiles, our Patriot missiles. Richard was a Patriot missile crewman, guidon bearer, also combat lifesaver. Who is going to fight this bloody war? And who is going to pay for this bloody war? Because I will tell you, I know one thing about the EU. They are broke. They are totally broke. They are in worse shape than we are, and we're in bad shape. We're in bad shape. Who's going to pay for this? And how, monetize, and then with for what reason? To feed the porn cult, to feed the child sex trafficking lovers of this porn cult. Because if you support porn, you support child sex trafficking, right? That's very clear. Thank you to Kanye West, who goes by Ye now. Thank you very much for his truthfulness. So I'm going to play for you this German foreign minister. I think it's really important, and you need to ask yourself, wow, they don't care about a missing soldier, that it would take no time, very little money, because we've done all of it. Okay, so Team Find Richard Halliday, we have the VIN numbers, we have the names, we have the screenshots, we have the addresses, the GPS addresses. We have because we traced the phone messages that were from burner phones. Can you believe that? We have the testimonies. We have a father-in-law of Lieutenant Colonel Bugado in the G3 of the 32nd ADCOM, which is Richard's command, saying that the FBI have found Richard in Juarez, and he's dead. Shh. And he's with the FBI, so he's probably a FBI informant, because he's not a special agent. And we called the State Department there. We have that on record, saying that indeed they were looking for Richard in Juarez. So the question is, because Richard's case is about the child sex trafficking, it is about this porn cult in the military. It is about the barracks being in such bad shape. That's why the IG were all over the barracks, because of Halliday. When you have flush with weapons and marketplace for illegal drugs and bringing in girls during frat parties every day, and who knows what they're bringing in. So when you have brutal murders and everything going on in the barracks, rapes going on in the barracks, suicides going on in the barracks. I just reread Mrs. Guillen's, that's Vanessa Guillen's mother's uh, statement at the dedication of the gate at Fort Hood to her daughter, her speech. And she said absolutely her daughter was telling her there's so many suicides. Of course there's so many suicides. When there's no justice, then you lose the will to live. You have Elder Fernandez that even trained and groomed to suicide. They're training to suicide, his mother was telling me, and I thought she deserves a PhD for her insight, an honorary PhD for her insight, because she was one of the few people that were willing to say the truth. At that time, 2020, 2021, 2022, very difficult to find people that wanted to tell the truth. And it really hindered and sabotaged Finding Richard. And now we have proof, because this colonel, part of this doggy puppy dog, where he admits in his publicly that he is grooming other puppies to be dogs, and he's been doing this for years and years in the military. And you know, he lived through don't ask, don't tell, whatever. Yeah, and other people are involved, and he is going into showing his it's so pornographic, y'all. In our gymnasium, and in our buildings, on our installations, in our beautiful uniforms. And do you think, you know, they've just deleted so many of the pictures and the coverage of this story, because there's more of them, y'all. There's more of them that are, even these are officers, and they are part of this porn cult, a little part of this humongous porn cult, and they're very, very vocal and public about it. And in our uniform, on our installations, in our buildings, on our dime, they're doing this. And if anyone raped Richard, of course, he went over and above and beyond the chain of command to make reports to the Child Protective Services. And who else is he going to go to? And of course, he's going to fight this. This grooming. He's going to fight the grooming. And so when you have the border involved in Richard's case, and he is found dead, and we have a report that he was found dead in uniform. If he's found dead in uniform in Juarez, Mexico, and it's because of this porn cult, and it's because of child sex trafficking, and we have this truck that has shaved handles that's like this color. We have the VIN, and there's Satanism involved. There's the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints involved. I just kid you not. That's why I've begged for help from that church. Please be a light in this, because so many people are involved that are also members to the Mormon Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And they have stakes all over that area. And look up what that means. And, you know, so we have all of this. We have all the connections between the peoples, and it's just grooming and sex cult and porn and sex cult and grooming, and of course the drugs that go along with it and everything. And Richard said it best. He said, I'd rather burn my money than spend it on whores and blow. So how far did it go? how far did this General Clem Coward, how far is his involvement in all of this? Because he did retaliate against Richard. Like I said, these 44 four-star generals, they are they are allowing this grooming. They're protecting the groomers. They're protecting them. They are allowing the evil and the crime to grow because they're not restraining it at all by being vocal, by being transparent, by getting their PAO, which is their public affairs officer, to contact the media and to make announcements, to bring together their leadership and click heels together and clean up the military. No, they want it dirty. They want it dirty. They want the porn cult. And what is Major General Clem Coward's part in this, because he retaliated? And why did General McConville, these are the 44 four-star generals, cover this up, especially if the FBI may be hiding the remains of our son? And we have evidence of them using asymmetric warfare tactics against us, military operations against us. Of course, special agent in the CID there leaked files that had to do with this porn sex cult. And Richard's file was one of them, because he went over and above and beyond the chain of command to make these complaints. And the IG then triggering the IG to be, this is what I think, what we think, all to be all over the barracks because of Halliday. And then we have the command sergeant major, when we get there, tell us he didn't even know he had a missing soldier on his rolls. That is absolutely ludicrous, ludicrous, ludicrous. And so who is going to be the one to stop this before? I mean, is their plan to cover all this up? War with Russia, you know, because people aren't buying the space stuff anymore. So, you know, and that's a very, very clear, y'all. If you don't know what I'm talking about, you need to go and get informed, because there is a huge, huge debate going on. There is a huge movement going on about the lies that we have been told about space, and the propaganda, and the grooming us towards the space. And I've been looking into it because that came up through this case. And I think that they just want this ground war. Why do we have to have a ground war when the Pentagon does psychological warfare? They do toxin warfare, poison warfare. They do frequency, radio wave warfare. They have all of their stealth drones, stealth bombers. Why do they need a ground bloody warfare with tanks? I don't get it. I don't get it. Except for the fact that they have a lot of sins that they want to cover up, a lot of major crimes. And I don't, this Pope, I don't care what this Pope seems to be not holding the keys of Peter in his hands. That's for sure. And sin is a crime. Sin is a crime. And some of those crimes require a punishment. Some of them don't. Okay? Some of them don't have a human punishment, a law enforcement punishment. But some of them do. And it's not too many of them, but they do. And so we need to get back to the simple truth of what is right and wrong. And for our country's sake, for our military service members' sake. And one of the things that concerned me was this one group of men that decided to cover the doggy porn. What was his name? I can't remember. Dog. I don't know. Whatever. It's on the picture. But this doggy porn thing that's out of Hawaii, I guess it's the Hawaiian military base there. That seems to be really, really big. But it's all over. It's all over. And they wear these doggy masks and they do despicable things and they take pictures, porn pictures in our buildings, on our installations, in uniform. It's just disgusting. And I lost my train of thought. But yeah, I lost my train of thought. Sorry. But I want to really, what's going to cover this up? The 44 four-star generals that have betrayed us. And I think it's war. And so I want to play this for you. So here we go. Let me see if I can do this. I think display capture. Please let me know if you can hear this. I had to play that a couple times because, and I hope you heard that, because that is so important. That is from not just anybody, even though it looks like just some young female. I wonder if she's gonna get into one of those tanks herself or send her husband or a loved one, or brother or whatever, because she had just declared war against Russia. That's what that is. That's such dangerous talk. And so when I clearly, let me see if, make sure, yeah. So when desktop audio. Did you hear that, everyone? I don't know if you heard that. Desktop. I should have pushed that button. Let me play it one more time because I think it's so important.
And therefore, I've said already in the last days.
Let me see.
And therefore, I've said already in the last days, yes, we have to do more to defend Ukraine. Yes, we have to do more also on tanks. But the most important and the crucial part is that we do it together and that we do not do the blame game in Europe because we are fighting a war against Russia and not against each other. Thank you. In Europe, because we are fighting a war against Russia and not against each other. Thank you. In Europe, because we are fighting a war against Russia and not against each other. Thank you.
Okay. So let me see. I hope you could hear that. I hope I'm doing it right. Um, that is so important because number one, living over there for many, many years, I know that Germany doesn't have an army. They don't have a military, y'all. They have very, and it's not a volunteer military. Um, it's conscripted. They have their duty that they do, and y'all, it's pretty pathetic. The same thing with Ireland, and I'm sorry, Ireland. I know you have a little military, but it's nothing. It's no military. Um, and they depend on the United States, you see, to do the fighting for them. They depend on the United States for funding these fights. And what I'm trying to say is there is so, Richard's case is so big, okay? I think it's bigger than even Austin Hawke's case. I think it's bigger than even Vanessa Guillen's case, and I'm very, very sorry. I hope I eat crow. I hope I eat crow. But we have a father-in-law that said that Richard was found by the FBI in Juarez, Mexico. We have a witness that says that Richard was taken over to Mexico and shot and killed in uniform. We have a witness, a couple people that have told us Richard was raped. Y'all, he was whistleblowing for Child Protective Service complaint. They have not answered our FOIA requests. He was turning in porn videos. We have asymmetric warfare tactics used against us. We have military operations used against us. We have the command sergeant major saying he didn't even know that there was a missing soldier on the roll because they didn't even contact us. They didn't even contact us, y'all, to let us know our son was missing. So this is huge. And he's not the only one. And it's coming out. So many crimes against humanity. Not only that, the audit in the Pentagon failing. Where is the money? Where, so you have the money laundering. You have the crimes against humanity. You have the crimes against our service members. You have the 44 four-star generals being caught literally supporting foreign and domestic enemies, servicing foreign and domestic enemies instead of defending the Constitution. You have the Secretary of the Army flipping off boldly a sitting senator 23 ranks higher than she, doomsday warm mouth. And McConville, son of the leader con artist, I mean, you can't make this up. Grinston, while stoning. I mean, what is he doing to his own soldiers? What is he doing to his own soldiers that none of them want to re-enlist, that none of them want to join, that they have to offer big time money, and also even rank. Oh, if you give us someone that joins, we'll give you a promotion. Are you kidding me? I mean, this should tell everyone what our 44. We have 44, and it's so top heavy. It's not 7 like in World War II with millions of service members. This is 44 four-star generals, and they're begging for volunteers that they can destroy, that they can use and abuse, that they can groom into this porn cult that will help them with their child sex trafficking and all their other money laundering. And what are they doing? What is going on? And we can't get answers. And so if I get it, and I'm just a little mother, okay? And I'm just a little person, I don't have connections in this country. You know, uh, I have some friend connections, but I have no big connections. I didn't have my life paved out for me or anything like that. Um, I'm just a humble person from a humble upbringing, and yeah, if I can get it, if I understand the level of crimes committed against us. It's not even hoaxes anymore. People are calling them hoaxes, scams, whatever. No, these are major crimes. These are high crimes that have been committed against us. And we have the leaders in the highest places uh, saying, oh, well, it's a sin, but it's not a crime. Or these are highest crimes. Oh, it's a hoax. Oh, well, everyone does it. Everyone does it. No, no. This is uh, this is the road to to hell if we don't. We're in the middle of Vanity Fair. If you've read Pilgrim's Progress, we're being led by the devil here, Beelzebub. We're being led by Beelzebub. 44 of them wearing our beautiful, beautiful uniforms with 4 stars that are supposed to defend the Constitution. But Beelzebub has hijacked them and are doing horrible things to our service members. Horrible things. That's why there's rapes. That's why there's murders. That's why there's so many suicides. And okay, it's sad. Okay, you might not like me. You might be mad at this message. You might be really sad and crying. Okay, go to bed. Scream at me, cry, whatever, pray. But then get on your knees and pray for our soldiers, pray for our service members, pray for our people, because these crimes have been committed against the people. And what I'm really, really, really not wanting to happen is that these Beelzebubs, they'll want to try to recruit all of these migrants coming in, and then use them badly, y'all. So I'm just praying that people will, after they scream a little, after they cry a lot, that they will pray and they will get a good night's sleep and they will get up in the morning and they'll put their boots on really good, gird their loins, put their gloves on, put their helmet on, put their full battle gear on, the full armor of God on, and they will stand up for the sake of this country. Because what do we expect? To go to heaven on flowery beds of ease while others fought and bled and died on bloody seas? What do you expect? Not to have to do anything, to have all the blessings of this life? There's responsibilities, and our responsibilities are to our children. Our responsibilities are to our country, and not to the Beelzebubs. Okay, not to them, but to God, because this country is under God, whether they like it or not. He's the Most High. He's the Most High, and not Beelzebub. It's God, God the Father, God the Son, God the Holy Ghost. And we need to defend this country that God has given us, the laws that He has given us that are so simple, you can just read them in a medium-sized book called the Bible, whereas man's laws are volumes and volumes and volumes of regulations and twists and turns and everything like that to enslave us. So I hope that you will do what you need to do, pray and get up and join this messaging. We need to change the narrative to what is true and what is right and what is noble and what is praiseworthy. And that is how we are going to get justice. And that is how we'll be able to form a very good relationship with Mexico and get Mexican authority to help us, because if Richard was found in Mexico, we need the Mexican authority to level with us. And I think one of them was really on the edge to do that, and the CID shut them down hard. That's another proof that we have. So I just hope that you look into this. We're working behind the scenes. We're trying to get a packet together and a book together, because things are really happening in the world right now. It's really good. It's good that things are getting shaken up, and with that, we will figure out what's right and wrong, when we discern with God as the Most High, right? So thank you so much. God bless you. Please share this. Share it everywhere. Create your own and let people know what's going on. And I think the main problem here, of course, is the 44 four-star generals that are grooming for this porn cult. Thank you so much. God bless you. Bye-bye. Oh, wait a minute. I wanted to read my messages. Right now, the military silence about Richard's case gives good reason that the generals in charge are enemies of this nation, especially Mealy and Austin. 100%. Enemy TV. Absolutely. Absolutely. I agree with you, James, on that one. Thank you so much. Anybody else? Okay. Thank you. And